So the general theme at the moment for the Saturday class is the mandala of the 5 Buddhas. And we're on Akshobhya, Buddha, blue Buddha, earth-touching mudra, holding a Vajra. And I'm just, in a way, I'm just going to, in a way, relate a little bit to Akshobhya, but then I'm going to, as it were, open that up. So one of the qualities associated with the Buddha Akshobhya in the mandala is determination, which I've already been touching on in the first half. How you do the practice, whatever practice is, mindfulness of breathing, metta bhavana, just being aware of the breath, just being present, but you're aware of the underlying quality of gentle determination. So the word gentle there is quite important, not teeth gritting type of determination, head banging determination, face contorting determination, if anyone does that. And the thing here is to recognize over time the quality of determination. It's quality, but it's sort of subtle and underlying, almost you could say permeating. It's sort of, it's everywhere in you, in your mind, or potentially. So when you get a taste, to use that image, of the determination, you recognize it. You go, this is determination. I didn't mean to snort there, but I just couldn't help it. So there is the sense of, so stay with this in the background. And it's so important because whatever your area of engagement is, you do need those kinds of qualities of gentle determination to be open, to stay with it, to engage with it, and to let that awareness fill you of what you're doing, either if it's meditation or work or communication. So I personally love the quality of determination. I mean, just to speak personally, and I think in the beginning I had to kind of recognize I was a bit over-determined sometimes, well, youthful exuberance, you know. No more. I in a way it became more refined, but it's still here, and I still cherish it as a quality. Determination to be in the process of awareness, engaging with what's happening, and in a way to be as real as possible, rather than in delusions and fantasy and ideas, wrong ideas even, about what's happening. So there's, the determination to be real is important. It keeps a continuity with what's happening. So there are a couple of qualities that sort of go with that. Now, I mentioned patience in the first half, for those of you who weren't here. Because sometimes it's challenging and difficult to be present and engage. You ask yourself, here, or away, and you hadn't noticed, you were well away. And so if you're a perfectionist, that can be quite difficult. You can give yourself a hard time. So the patience, it has the quality of just be gently coming back. It's all right. You'll be fine. Just keep going. Yeah. So patience has this quality of it's connected to what you're doing. It's not like, oh, whatever, giving up. But it's very gentle and kind, especially if you have the tendency to be harsh on yourself and think, I'm not good enough. It softens that tendency, because if you think you're not good enough, you just can give up. I mean, I see it all the time, but I saw it. Sometimes I reference my mother, Maggie. She's 104. She was drawing until relatively recently, but she stopped. And I said, why? Why? You were really good. And she said, no, I'm not good enough. I mean, for heaven's sake, that was a really good example of giving up on something. She was actually really quite good, but it's never good enough. So that perfection, you have to be very careful that it doesn't stop you doing things that are important. You keep the determination going to keep going. Now, I wanted, in a way, I'm going to probably be mixing metaphors wildly, but I wanted to introduce the metaphor of water, starting with a spring, going into a stream, into a river, past some lagoons, maybe into an estuary, into the sea. And I think that the metaphor of water in this context is very, very useful. Not just as an idea, but as an experience. Sometimes you feel that your inspiration is quite still just coming out of the spring. It's just a trickle. But you stay with it. And you practice awareness, you can practice staying with positive qualities, and it grows into a stream. And the stream might meander a bit, but you stay with it. And then in the stream might, the flow of your practice and your engagement with being mindful, noticing what's happening, doing what you need to do, if you need to do something, is that whole process fits quite well with the metaphor of water and a stream. Sometimes when you, like in Wales or Scotland or somewhere northern, you get rocks in the stream. And so the flow can be a bit rocky. You have to navigate difficulties in your life with yourself and with others. And part of the process is actually finding your way around and through the rocky parts, maybe wearing them down or just around them. And then you get whirlpools, stagnant bits, where you might be possibly starting with a good experience of meditation or contentment, and you just go, I think I'll just stay here for a while. And then you realize the stream has passed you by, and you go back into the stream, and then you go, it gets deeper and more depth, pull. And I think that this part of the metaphor is quite interesting, because you can get ruffles on the surface where, there are irritations and annoyances also associated with Akshobhya, dealing with hatred and aversion, but you work with it, but underneath that there could be depth. So here the stream is not a shallow stream anymore. It's got much deeper pools, you could say. And as a metaphor for oneself, it's very useful to remember that you might be working on surface irritations and difficulties and annoyances with others or with yourself, but occasionally you ask, and what else is here? And that then drops you, as it were, into more underlying positive qualities. And you connect with them and they inspire you. You know, like your determination, your care, your love, patience. And so the sense of, in a way, having surface ruffles and depth are part of the process. And if you just focus on the ruffles, you miss out on something that can give you real energy and inspiration. Yeah? And here there's an interesting connection with the beginning. Sometimes in those deeper areas, there are underwater springs. And the underwater spring is often mentioned in Buddhist tradition as a force of inspiration. And sometimes you might actually feel it. You just feel that something is just bubbling up in you. And recognition there is very valuable. Not saying, oh, it's a distraction. Saying, oh, this actually is energy and inspiration. And absorbing it in a way, expanding to take it in. So as the stream becomes a river, I wanted to raise it at this point, but it could have been raised at any point, actually. All the tertiary little streams and rivers that go off the main river, the mangrove swamps and, that seem, with all the wonderful wildlife, using it as a metaphor, can seem absolutely fascinating. And this is a metaphor for just being aware of distraction on the path. This is, not everyone has this, but it's a particular thing. Some people are very prone to procrastination. And it's not everybody, not everyone has it. But it's like just going off on, not committing to anything, but going off on something. And if you find that you have the tendency to do that, you have to really take it on seriously, because it means that you can never properly commit to either anything useful or your development. So you have to go, yeah, I do this, I procrastinate, I jump off, I make excuses, I don't stay with what's going on. I need to work on that, let go of that, and come back to the main flow of what's happening and what's important. So in that way, you get a real sense of momentum in your practice of mindfulness, meditation, and the positive qualities of the Dharma, and they become really valuable to you. So in that way, what happens is there is, as it were, it's just a manner of speaking, a broadening of your sense of yourself. I don't know if you've ever actually seen really big rivers where you can barely see the other side. It's pretty amazing, actually. And it, as a metaphor, it's really wonderful. You know, the breadth and depth is beyond the limited, constrained sense of yourself and what you want and how things should be. And then, you know, the river eventually meets the sea. You know, and there's very often this analogy from the clear fresh water to salt water, in which has the taste of the Dharma is everywhere. Everywhere, everything you do is imbued with the principles of growth and development and going beyond a sense of yourself. Seems like a good place to finish, doesn't it? So, what we're going to do